So, you want to learn about the world of flying diaper hat girls, but don't know where to start the games. Wouldn't you want to start with the first game? Well, first of all, it's essentially a pinball game. Not exactly what Touhou Bullet Hell is all about. Second, it's difficult to set up. Touhou 1 through 5 are known as the PC98 generation, meaning that you need an emulator to start them. Furthermore, you will need to patch them in English in a roundabout way. Some characters from the later game appear, but in terms of getting into Touhou media and memes, it won't do you so well because the lore is pretty retconned. If you'd like to play the original games, I would recommend playing them after you beat the modern games, as a seasoned vet who can enjoy the origins of the main characters. So why are we starting with Touhou 6, Embodiment of the Scarlet Devil? It's not just because it's the first of the Windows era, but because it'll teach you bullet hell fundamentals. That would be streaming and how to dodge random bullet patterns. These will be vital later on, since you'll have to recognize patterns to even stand a chance in the later games. Second, EoSD has the most iconic Touhou characters by far. Most popular media that extends past the Touhou fandom, like in anime conventions, will reference characters from this. In fact, 5 of the 6 characters here are some of the most popular. Even the meme songs like Night of Nights are a remix of Sakuya's theme. That's like the Megalovania of the 2000s. There are a few negative aspects to starting with EoSD. It's a bit basic, so if gimmicky mechanics are your thing, you may want to look at starting elsewhere, likely Wily Beast and Weakest Creature, the newest Touhou game. But the biggest thing is that Touhou 6 doesn't show your hurt box while you're focusing. If you're new to Touhou, you may not know this, but focusing is when you hold down a button to move slower. In every game after 6, you can see where you get hit on your sprite. As you can see, it's much smaller than your actual character. I would argue that as you continue to play, you will eventually not have to look at your character to know where your hurt box is, but it may be a daunting task for a beginner. Next two, Perfect Cherry Blossom and Imperishable Night. They're the same as EoSD, as in you have iconic characters like Yomu, Yukari, Alice, Ryzen, Eren. It has lots of memes like Dasukete Eren, and if you're into it, a lot of ships develop from these, especially in Imperishable Night where you play as a duo. Stuff like Alice x Marissa and Reimu Yukari probably came into being from here. Speaking of the pair-ups in Imperishable Night, it gives you insight into the personalities of both main characters, Reimu and Marissa, while also exploring characters who are normally enemies. So this trifecta of games give you a head start in terms of lore, fundamentals, memes, and ships. After the first 3, you're probably not ready for the harder games yet, and when I call these games easy, and no way am I saying that they're actually easy to beat, rather, once you master the fundamentals from the first 3 Windows games, you'll have all the tools you need to beat these. This will help you gain confidence in your play, and they will introduce some iconic characters. Specifically, Mountain of Faith has Kanako and Sanae, Double Dealing character has Seija and Wagi, the latter of which has 2 good meme videos about her, and 10 Desires has Miko. The reason I wouldn't suggest playing the easy games first is because they won't prepare you for later games. I don't think EoSD or PCB will be difficult enough to burn you out, but if you go into them after playing games like Mountain of Faith, you might burn out. In the home stretch, we have Touhou 12, Unidentified Fantastic Object, Touhou 11, Subterranean Animism, and Touhou 15, Legacy of Lunatic Kingdom. These games are brutal, and if you play the games in order, meaning you play Animism after Imperishable Night, that'll be painful. Specifically, UFO and Legacy of Lunatic Kingdom are weird for Touhou games. They have mechanics where you have to work extra hard for 1-ups and bombs, unlike other games where you just get them for gaining points or capturing spell cards. But at this point, you'll have the skills to adapt and even have some experience with weird mechanics like from 4 Seasons or Wily Beast. Personally, I think the latter games make these mechanics much more enjoyable, while in UFO and Lunatic Kingdom, they're more of a drag. And Subterranean Animism, it's just hard. It's just hard. If you only have access to Touhou games on Steam, your options are more limited. Unfortunately, they don't have Touhou 6, 7, or 8 here, which were my preferred gateway games. Now, this might sound crazy, but at first I thought you could play Subterranean Animism. It has iconic characters like Satori and her pets Rin and Utsuho. However, like I mentioned before, it's hard as hell, pun intended. So, an enjoyable experience to begin would be the latest game, Touhou 17, Wily Beast and Weakest Creature. I would go as far as to say it doesn't have much in terms of iconic characters, but it will teach you how to play the game well, and its stories and mechanic are definitely made by a more experienced Zune. After that, yes, I will be throwing you into the deep end of Touhou. If you're just playing the games to play the games, then it would be fine to put Subterranean Animism into the hard category and play it later. But if you're trying to meet the characters so you can put Touhou media and memes into context, Animism is a favorite. Other than that, the rest of the list is pretty much the same. You can support Zune by buying these games on Steam. They will be in Japanese, but there are English patches online. Let me know what you think of my list, or if you're new to Touhou, how you feel about your first game.